Hola, hola everyone. Welcome. Hola. Oh, hola, hola. I'm here. Sweet to beauty. Sweet low us to beauty. Hola. Brenda. Hola. Tanya. Buenas tardes. ¿Cómo están? Hola. Yep, I'm here on the balcony again. I finished my 2 classes and trying to chill. We had the party last night. I'm doing good. Thank you, Brenda. Thanks for asking. So I was a little tired this morning, but I woke up early and I had to go do some shopping with the sister. So I was up by 6:30 and I'm like, but made it. Walked to the metro, took the metro, walked to San Felipe, the fish market, but I did not buy a thing. You'll be proud of me. I took my crossbody and I said, I'm not taking a bag. I don't want to be tempted to buy anything. And while I was showing the sister the fish market, this couple, expat, excuse me, they were trying to buy some fish. And it turns out they were, the vendor was trying to scam them. I'm going to do a short video about that because I was so upset. Trying to tell people things are changing here. Even at that place, hola Greta, I was thinking that I I got scammed a little bit a couple of times, but this one was just so blatant. Yeah, in Panama City, and I go there, maybe every couple of weeks or so. But this gentleman is an older gentleman, and what I did, I forgot to take the number of his stall. The stalls all have numbers. So I'll explain that in the video, but I was upset. And I was like, in the middle of the day, and I came in trying to help the lady. I speak Spanish, and you're still trying to scam her? No, hell to the no. Mm-mm, no. Trying to make her pay for something she didn't buy? No. I have not seen that so blatant here in Panama City. But this guy, he had the fish in a bag. He said, pay me for 10 pounds. And I'm like, but there's no 10 pounds of fish in here. Why would she pay you for that? And finally, the lady said, oh, forget it. I'm like, good. Because next time I go, I'm going to go, you, I got you. Mm-mm. No, no bueno. You were there in Well, I go there every couple of weeks. And I've never had a hard time. Or because, when they see you don't speak English, and there is a tendency to say, well, let me get one up on her, or charge her more. And the same thing happens with taxis. So I'll go over that in another video because that just wasn't right. Mm-mm. My spirit was upset. I'm like, why do you do that? Now, of course, the government in the news, they're always telling us, be careful of people calling you, asking you money. Well, we know that. But when you go somewhere and you are language limited and you say how much, they look at you. When they say gringo pricing, this is a real thing. Now, as I said, they used to say, eres Panamanian. I'm like, no, I'm not Panamanian. But now the moment they see me, it's like, hello, give me money or something. They know that you're a foreigner. And then that's when the price goes up. But I can understand if you said, all right, the pound of fish for the local is $3, for you it's 10. That would have maybe, but to tell me, You want her to pay for 10 pounds of fish, and I'm like, there's not 10 pounds of fish in here. Why should she pay you $36? No. I'm like, you take your fish. We're not doing that. That's terrible. I'm still upset. But anyway, you have to have your wits about you because everybody's trying to get something on somebody. Whether it's when you try to rent a place, maybe when you try to do an Airbnb, they add fees, or maybe it's just there's a price for local and a price for foreigners. That's just the way it is. And that happens in doctors' offices here. That for a foreigner, $75 a visit, and if for local it could be 25. Don't do that. They didn't used to do that. But now, with so many of us here, yeah. So you have to know. But anyway, welcome to the live, guys. And I thought maybe we could continue the conversation that we had with Adelia. Thank you for those of you who've watched the video. You know, my videos haven't been getting too many views lately. And, you know, they're telling you all this stuff about you got to do that. And I'm like, YouTube is not that good of a moneymaker for you to spend so much time and energy in it. And I want you to know, I was paying a virtual assistant, a VA, to edit the videos. And she was charging me like $50 per video. Well, that's a lot of money if you're not making a lot of money, right? And so after a while, you know, we had 2 or 3 videos that did well. Yeah, but that's only a month, right? So after a while, I was like, no, we can't do that. It's not in the budget. So I scrapped that. But the person that I got her information from, who was also a YouTuber, this morning, she's like, I'm not going to do any more videos because I don't want to have to pay all that money. And that is the truth. Unless you are about, I would say maybe 50,000 subscribers, where even if not a lot of people watch, because the way YouTube, you make money on YouTube, believe it or not, it's not the video itself, it's how many people watch and how long they watch. That's why you tell people, there was a sister who said, oh, I didn't know that. That's what I turn on your videos and I go take a shower, I leave it on, and I'm like, good. Because the way you make money is while your video is playing, the ads come on. Because YouTube is a marketing giant. That's all it is for their ads, right? Just like at the Super Bowl, they make money from the ads. So, hola Vivian, ¿cómo estás? And so if nobody watches the video, and when the ad is running, if you let the whole ad run, we may get, I don't know, 25 cents per views or something like that. It's not a lot of money. So you're looking, you know, I forgot what my 1099 says. I could tell you that maybe for last year, I don't know if I made 5, 10K. I don't even remember. I'd have to look. But it's not what I'm trying to say. I am very grateful for YouTube that I can create a community. This is what I focus on the most, not necessarily the revenues, because that is not part of my budget. I don't depend on that, right? It's not a line item. If I get a check for the month, it's like, oh, extra. Either I cash it or I put it somewhere. It's not something hola, HBS. It's not something I depend on. So I would never say, oh, I expect to get this much from YouTube. No. Now, I know somebody like Stephanie Perry, who has like 200,000 subscribers. It doesn't matter if only 1% of her people watch her videos, she would make decent amount of money. And even then, Stephanie Perry is smart enough to know that she cannot entirely depend on YouTube. Now, a lot of people who are big, you know, like Mr. Beast? You know, he's a multimillionaire. He does crazy stuff like going to New York City and around the holidays. Did you see him? He's on foot, and the people are stopping at the light, and he's like, "Would you like $1,000? Would you like $1,000?" He's just crazy stuff like that. I don't have the personality to do that. But you constantly on YouTube have to shock people. That's what make people click on your video. If your thumbnail shows you like, oh, they say, oh, let me check that. That's what they're looking at. I'm not that kind of person. I'm not going to hang by something and trying to catch your attention. I got something to say. We're having conversation, and I made a decision. When I fired the VA, I'm like, I kind of went back on it a little bit. I said, I'm not going to worry about editing a video. I'm going to speak into the camera. I have the intro, the outro, and then be done with it. Put my name on there. Sometimes I go crazy. And sometimes with the software I use, DaVinci, I'll click something and the whole thing goes crazy. I'm not going to start again. So spending hours editing a video is not worth it. What I'm saying is the amount of effort that you put into creating a video is not comparable to the revenues that you get as a new creator. If you're a seasoned creator with a large following, you're going to make a decent amount of money. And like I said, even then, it's not guaranteed. So people like me who are close to 20,000 subscribers, you're not making a lot of money unless every video goes viral. The last viral video I had was when I talked about the darker side of moving abroad or something like that. And I guess the word darker was the thing that the algorithm picked up on because YouTube has to push your video out. If YouTube doesn't like the title or how crazy your thumbnail looks, it's not going to catch on. And that thing they call like keywords and tags. And some people said that, like Stephanie Perry said, she has cracked the code. She knows how to do the videos. Sometimes I forget, you have to do the thumbnail has to be attractive, visually so, not too busy. And they tell you you can only have like 5 words on your thumbnail, otherwise it's just crazy. It's like they put you in a box. And then you have to do what they call the hook. The hook is when you first come on, you got to say something that's going to grab someone. So this is why I say, when you make a video, if I were to say to you right now on my thumbnail, if I said, why I'm leaving Panama, I guarantee you it's going to get lots of click because people like the gossip. They like the scandals. They like the things that's going to say, oh my God, oh wow, oh poor thing, oh I saw it coming. People who, God, it's just so sad. If they say, I've been diagnosed with cancer, oh my God, everybody wants to watch. That's sad. But if you say, let me tell you about my day, it's like, boring. They don't want the regular. And after you've been on YouTube for a while, there is something called yes. Oh, that's good. That's good. Thank you. And that's why we say, please hit the like button. Supposedly, Mr. Algorithm likes that too. But it's just a compilation of a bunch of things that, unless you're really into that kind of thing, like these young kids can say, well, I can show you how I can get 2 million views, in a week. And they do it. I don't know how to do all that, right? So there were talks about, the person who manages YouTube saying, these days, the trends. It's no longer how many views you get, it's how much interaction you get with your community. And that's why I decided I don't care how many views. I encourage you to do the likes, but I'm not going to obsess over the number of subscribers because I remember when that video went viral, I went to bed and the next morning I'm like, what happened? And sometimes I think it's a glitch because some people will tell you they were at 10,000, in about a week they got 20,000. This sister is in Tanzania. I remember when she was just around 5,000. And then it's like the next day, I'm like, she was at 8. And I'm like, wow, sis, congrats. What happened? She said, sis, I am shook. I have no idea what happened. I'm happy for her, but I refuse to chase Mr. Algorithm. So I'm going to focus with you, my audience. I'm going to give you what I have, because the other thing that we run into, and there is like creator fatigue. Creator fatigue. Some people, after a while, they give up because you sometimes get into a place and you stuck. Let's say I was trying to get to 20,000 by December 31st. I think happened, it was like crawling, crawling, crawling. So you like every day you wake up and you're looking at, I don't want to do that. I don't want to allow anything to make me obsess over anything. That's why I do a multitude of things, and then I, live comfortably and simply and leave the rest to God. I refuse to obsess, right? But apparently there is a system. And some people have cracked the code. I have not. Okay? But what I promise you is that I will keep coming. I'm not going to be with my sister who said, this sister said, I'm not going to make videos anymore, because you got to talk. You got to make sure the lighting is correct. You got to be looking into the camera, because in the beginning, when you look at the very new creators, it's like they're looking over here. They forget to look into the camera. It's a skill. You just learn it, right? The thumbnail, right? Your colors and how consistent your the appearance of your thumbnail, where people kind of get to know that's a video from Maggie, or that's a video from this one, from that one. You're creating an image, right? That's your brand, so to speak, on your thumbnail. So that takes work. That's not too hard, but trying to find things that are of interest to people, to keep them engaged, and to offer some value. I see it a lot that people get fatigued and they're like, I met someone the other day, he's like, are you still doing that? I'm like, yeah. Because if you're counting on revenue from YouTube and then you keep getting disappointed, every video you do, you always expect that that video is going to go viral, and then you slave over it. How you present it. Did you do the hook? Did you introduce yourself? Did you ask him to sign, to like, share, and subscribe? I feel some kind of way about constantly having to ask someone to do that. I'm like, if I'm saying something and it's of value to you, or you like my persona, how I present, you're gonna click on the subscribe button. I shouldn't have to be begging you to do that. I should not, right? So if you have 2,000 subscribers or 15,000 subscribers, be grateful and get on with it. I am drinking a lemonade that is made here in Panama, Bebida de Panela. It's a lemonade with lime. Gracias for the light. With lime, and they use raspadura. Raspadura is cane sugar. They sell it in blocks here, which is better than white sugar because it hasn't been stripped, of the natural stuff. But anyway, I don't like sugar anyway, but I can have that sometimes. So that's my decision right now. I'm not going to obsess over it. I'm going to, I try to be consistent. This is another killer for asset creators. And I remember Adelia is like, I don't know about creators. Yeah. If I'm coming to you and I'm trying to give you a message, I'm keeping you informed, I create a video, I'm a creator. I had a sister who was upset with me in the beginning. I don't know what I said. And then she said, well, you're calling yourself a creator. I said, well, I am a creator. And then she was upset. I guess she thought I was uppity, and I'm like, I'm just stating a fact. I did not create the word. Somebody else created it. But some people are always, I don't worry about stuff like that. Or people like that. It's like, all right, sis, okay. I acknowledge what you said. I'm moving on. I'm doing the Kim. Keep it moving. So there's too much going on in this crazy world for us to be, hola, Greta, to be worried. Auntie's here, Greta's here. Yeah. No. I refuse to stress over it. So I'm going to keep coming to you and share with you what I was going to say. People who kind of take some time off, let's say something happens and they don't, I've seen that a lot, and they don't post for like months, and then you come back, what they say is that Mr. Algorithm, like, where are you? Where you at? And they don't find you, and then you go to the back of the line. Now remember, algorithm is like it's a software thing that some brainy kid developed, right? It's like when you are applying for jobs now. Remember how they used to say, keep your resume to one page and do this, do that. Now they have keywords because those resumes are picked by an algorithm that's a computer generated. Now that was then. Now you have AI. I don't know what AI is doing with your resumes. It seems like AI is in all of our business. Oh my goodness. It's like you sleeping. You're like, AI, are you there? Oh, it's just too much. Too much. You love Mexico and Panama. Wonderful. All right, guys, now that I'm over my little rant, let's talk about Mexico and Panama. As I said, because we have had an influx of not just retirees, of just expats, immigrants, or whoever we want, whatever we want to call ourselves, into Panama, we are going to see more of what I described earlier. Incidences of scamming, people trying to take advantage of you because they see you as having money. I see a lot of people saying, please help me or whatever. They look at you and they see you're a foreigner and they're asking for money. And I mean, I understand that people have needs, but I never want to be Jazzy. Oh my God. Hello, beautiful. Oh, that's one of my babies. She's in New York City or Brooklyn now. Wow. Hola, sis. Oh, she's so beautiful. Anyway, so that is what I see happening in Panama because of the influx of foreigners. Having said that, I watched a couple, I'm not subscribed to them. You're trying to decide if you should come and see Panama this summer. Okay, I want to scout so I can start the process before they change the requirements. Can I get the permanent and move later? Sure. Because once you get your permanent residency in Panama, you only have to show up here every 2 years. Some people say you can stay 24 hours. I've heard somebody say you could stay for a week. They stamp your passport, then you go back out your business, and then come back in another 2 years. And your residency never expires here in Panama. So you're good. Hola, Lynette, ¿cómo estás? The address? What do you mean? Oh, with you mean with immigration that you have to update your address? Well, in that case, maybe you can ask your attorney if you can use their address as your permanent address. I've heard people do that. Ask your attorney. Don't ask me for that because I'm not a legal person, but ask the attorney how you should handle that because I know my attorney always say, "Oh, you can only need to come for for a week every 2 years." I would ask the attorney that. So good, good. And so, the more people you have, the more opportunities for people to see how they can scam you. And remember, I got pickpocketed or robbed. I get corrected all the time. Uh, I got fined $1,000 at the border with Costa Rica because of something trivial. I think definitely that was a bit of scamming. You don't charge someone $1,000 for not getting a stamp. That is not cool at all to be treating foreigners like that. But having said that, there are other opportunities. People talk about scamming when they're trying to buy a car, when you're trying, and I've heard of that in like in places like Kenya. You know, in Kenya, when you rent an apartment, usually there's nothing in it. You have to furnish it, buy the stove and all that, and then they see you coming, and they say, "Oh, she's got dollars. It's $300, but for you, it's 450." Gringo pricing everywhere. Don't anywhere in Africa you go, they're gonna get you. Okay? But I'm starting to see that here, just like I said, this guy blatantly to my face. Oh, give me $30. And I'm like, for what? How much is the fish? $3.50 a pound. If you have 3 pounds, how does it compute to 30? So if you don't understand what he's saying, then they're gonna get you scammed. You get scammed also when you rent an apartment and for whatever reason you I'm not talking about scamming here, but this is something I've noticed. So of course we want to talk about it. Something happens to the apartment and you're not happy and you want to leave. The other day I came across an article that was published by one of the law firms here, and he says this is the law, what the law says. Excuse me, if you rent an apartment, you lease it for a year, and for whatever reason, mutual understanding, even if the owner, because most of the apartments are owned, personally owned, if the owner says, okay, I'm gonna sell the unit, which is what's happening with some of the units in my building. So I might get that email one day saying I got a buyer, because people buy the apartments here as investments. They don't live here, they're out of the country. So if the owner or yourself, for whatever reason, you're not happy and you want to leave, the law says all you have to do is give a 30-day notice. But you know what? Written notice, like email should count as written notice because we don't have any mail deliveries. But some owners, because they see that you're a foreigner and you don't know the law, they assume. That's why you should make your attorney your friend. Whatever question you have, run it by her or him and say, what is the law? What are my rights in this situation? So the owners will tell you, oh, you want to leave before the end of your lease, then you lose your deposit. That's against the law. But if you say, oh, no, my attorney said this, they're going to pull back. But to me, that's scamming, right? Why would you do that, treating somebody differently, trying to get their money that doesn't belong to you? There's a lot of that going on. And there was a girl who was Panamanian American who was here for like, I think she said 10 years. She got scammed too. Somebody took her money. Listen, in this couple I was telling you about, they are an American Caucasian couple, and they've been traveling around Latin America. And yesterday, the video I saw, they were in Peru, and they were saying, "Oh yeah, we're strolling to Miraflores," and I was like, "Oh, I remember that area." They were traveling on a bus overnight from, I don't know, Honduras, San Salvador, one of those places. Just like I put my backpack and got pickpocketed, they made a boo-boo. They had like a carry-on with their laptop and their drone in it. I would be holding that like right here. They put it in the overhead compartment up there. And I guess they must have dozed off. It's a long ride. Wake up the next morning, bag is gone. They were watching. They knew what was in it. So the comment that they made was that we're leaving South America. And then, of course, they string you along, talking, tap, tap, tap. I'm like, tell people why, because your title says, why are we leaving? And one of the reasons they said is because too many people they've encountered, including themselves, have been robbed. Some people robbed at gunpoint. Some people, you go on a tour, they try to get your phone or they get your wallet. And they said they were just feeling, not that they're unsafe, but they were at a high risk of being victimized. So I don't know if it's a problem in this region I remember in the US, our home in Florida got broken into. We had our car stolen from our driveway, and then we had somebody break into our home. And I remember when I moved from New York, they were like, "Oh, New York, dangerous, New York, New York." I said, "Well, I was in New York for 12 years. No one ever robbed me. I was never pickpocketed. I come to Florida, southern states, and I got victimized twice." So don't take what happens in one place and generalize it to the country. So they said they were leaving. I don't know where they're going to go, but that's their decision. But what I'm saying for Panama, I have noticed an increase in that, and we need to be more alert and knowing who to trust. What's happening also with the cab situation. This sister said, I always tell you when you come here, don't use cabs, use Uber, no cash changing hands. But some people feel like the cabs are cheaper. I don't really worry about cheap when it comes to my safety, right? And you shouldn't either, especially as a single woman. This one sister was sucker punch in the eye and they stole her bag from a cab driver. But this lady, she came and she said, "Can we have lunch? Have coffee?" Of course, I can always have coffee with somebody right next door. The coffee is decent. Can you still do an extended 6 month stay? Yeah. So far, until now, when they stamp your passport, when you come, you have 180 days. And if you recall, when we asked Adelia if you could stay for 180 days, and I have heard that from other creators who are in Mexico, they say it depends on who you come across when you're coming in. If he looks at you, he said, "You look like a 90 days." She said, if you go to a machine, you're more likely to get 180 days. You go to a human, exactly, because there's so many of you, they're going to say, 90 days, maybe not 30, right? But it's not across the board. Where here, it's still standard. You get 180 days, which is 6 months. It's all in how you carry yourself. For the safety, I don't know. There are some areas that I don't want to be at. Doesn't matter if I have my crossbody, I would feel some kind of way. So there are so many things you need to do. Maybe I can do another video about keeping yourself safe abroad as a single woman. There's a lot you can do, right? Um, yes, they'll give you. Oh, they give you on 80 days, Greta. That's good. Did you get a human or did you go to a machine? I don't know. I've never gotten a machine to stamp my passport before. Sometimes they'll say, look into the camera, take your picture. I've heard about the recognition, of your eye. I haven't had that, but somebody always stamps my passport so far in the countries I've been to. But anyway, be aware of the scamming because the more difficult life becomes, more expensive, people out of work. I always say poverty breeds crime, right? And tourists are the easiest targets. And not just tourists. Listen, they were showing on TV one time here because we have cameras all over. They show all the crazy accidents that happen here in Panama. Oh my God. People just coming down the street, barreling down. They don't stop and then it's like, where did you learn how to drive? I don't think you need somebody to tell you if you come into an intersection, you slow down, you look to the left, look to the right before you go across. No, some don't do it. Human, he was happy that I visited before. Oh, good. They do know everything about you. Yes. When I went to Mexico last year, nobody sent my passport. Huh? Now that's unusual. And I paid $1,000 because I didn't get a stamp. Mm, that's weird. I don't know. But anyway, so if we want to compare Mexico and Panama, the things that we have in common in terms of size, we're not even close. Mexico is a Dominic, hola, ¿cómo estás? Oh, how are you? My American friends over there. I want to speak Spanish to y'all. How are you, sweetheart? Oh, it's good to see your name. People I used to work with. But anyway, so Mexico is massive. And of course, Greta is there right now. So if I say anything wrong, Miss Greta, please correct me, okay? You went twice, Granny. Wow. That's amazing. I can't answer that. I wish Adelia was on to tell you why that would be. But anyway, Mexico is massive, right? Panama is a small little stretch of land between, hola, Sybil, hey, between Costa Rica and Colombia, right? Panama is in the middle between North America and South America. We're in the middle. Yee. Yes. So we're not even close. But I think the weather patterns are the same. They get the dry season and the rainy season. Right now, we are in dry season. That runs. Well, if you went to Merida, where Greta is, you probably would melt. But it hasn't been awful here. No. I mean, it gets hot during the day. Like right now, it's very cloudy. Not that we're going to get rain because it's dry season. Don't let it fool you. But between like early December to like late April, that's the dry season. And that is also what we call high season here in Panama. That's where you're going to have a lot of tourists here. The places that they visit, the Panama Canal, Casco Viejo, full, full, full. And you see them protecting your credit card with the RFID wallet helps prevent anyone scanning your card. I don't know what the RFID is, but I know people saying now when you stand in line, people have a scanner and they can get your information. I mean, seriously, these people are just so busy. I wish they would use all that knowledge for something good. Yes. But what I believe is that scammers are trying to get something for nothing. But the government and other people know everything about you. They know where you're at. They know what you're doing. So you can do your part, but don't think that you're hiding you off the radar because you're not. Like right here in Panama, if you move your address, they say you need to go and tell them where you're at. Well, they already know where you're at, right? I had to go re-register my new passport so they can see that I have a new passport because the new passport information is different, the number is different and all that. But when I went in there and they took my passport, they put a stamp on it. It says registrado. That means registered. I didn't know that. And then the attorney chimed in, oh, yes, they do that. Good job. So you're supposed to do that because they want to know where you're at. And of course, you know, they tell you to register for the STEP program that they would tell you what's happening. And if there, sometimes I get a notice once in a while, sometimes I don't. So I don't know if there was something major. Would I be notified? I don't know. I don't know. But you know what was happening in the all over social media 2 or 3 weeks ago is that if something happens, you better have a plan and don't depend on the embassy to take care of you. And I said, I'm just going to go in the bathroom and sit there and wait, whatever happens. Um, you were in Panama last year. That was dry season. So that's the dry season, okay? Our dry season, I have to say that the rainy season is longer than the dry season. And our season extended into I want to say all the way to February, it was raining almost every day here. So the dry season, usually there's no rain. Sometimes it looks cloudy, and I'm like, oh, we could use a little rain. No rain. And this is when we are at risk for brush fires. We had a major fire a week ago in one of those indigenous communities. The indigenous communities, when you visit them, most of their homes are on stilts, and then they're made of straw. Special trees, they harvest the thing, and they make it, and so, the way they slant, so even if it rains, it doesn't get inside the house. But if you have an accidental fire in those places, it just rages. And that's what happened in that place. And so there were a lot of displacement. And so the community rallied. I donated, other people donated, we donated items, kitchen stuff. I did clothing and other things. So hopefully, and I think I got another email or message, WhatsApp yesterday, that they're still collecting, because things for the kids, their uniforms, their school supplies. And these folks, because they live really inside in the interior, roads sometimes are a challenge, bridges are a challenge. Two young girls drowned last year because they were trying to cross a raging river. I mean, it's crazy. Some of the stuff happening. Going to school can be a challenge because they're so deep in there, in their areas called comarcas. That's their home, their land. That's where they want to be. So that is an issue. So those are the season. The rainy season though starts like early May, maybe mid-May, and all the way to December, right? So there's a lot of rain that comes. And I think that's one of the things that I noticed about Panama when I came, how lush everything is. But we also one year had brush fires. So the rainy season, it depends how much rain we get. And I think 2 years ago, we didn't have much rain, and the Panama Canal was worried because the water level was low because of low rainfall. And we couldn't even accommodate, the real heavy ships. And if you come to Panama, you definitely have to go to the Panama Canal and watch the ships go through, go way down, and then when they get to the other side of those locks, and then they raise the water level. It's really cool. Radio frequency blocking wallets protects against digital theft by using conducive, oh my God, materials to create a shield. Wow. Oh, radio frequency. Okay. That's high level. High level. That's amazing. Well, you shouldn't have your credit card anywhere close to your body. It should be deep in. With my crossbody, unless somebody come really to my face to get close. Okay, you in my space. Back off. But anyway, that's interesting. All right. In terms of size, like I said, we don't even come close. The cultures are so rich, and we have a lot of similarities, in food, not so much, because we don't eat tortillas here and tacos and any of that, but we cook our rice differently, so I wouldn't say the food is the same, but the dancing and the cultures are similar. They have some hats, we got hats, so right there, and we both speak Spanish. Even though you may see some differences in some words, and right, we got differences even inside Panama. If you go to Colon, they call certain things differently than the rest of the country. Same thing in Colombia, Mexico, Ecuador. So we have some slight regional differences in the language and culture, but lots of similarities, right? Because in Central and South America, most of that land was colonized by Spain. So everybody speaks Spanish except Brazil. But Catholicism is very strong. Familia, family, very strong. Religious fervor, like right now with Semana Santa, Holy Week starting. In fact, last night, I was having a party here, but they started the, um, they call it Dia Doloroso. They're talking about how Mary, mother, Jesus's mother, was starting to be heavy-hearted, right? So that's why they celebrated last night, and Panama does a fabulous job. They go to the old city and you have parades, you have choirs, you have people in the streets, and of course the archbishop is the one in front with some priests, and then they have processions, and then they have like some ladies what because they're celebrating Mary being in mourning pretty much. So a bunch of ladies dressed in black with the rosary and then walking around really somber looking, and the music is somber. I was watching on television and I was getting emotional. I've been to a couple of those, couple of years, and it is. And I think I published the dates in my WhatsApp group as to something happening almost every day in that particular area. But that's the city. You have other parts of the city celebrating and other part of the country celebrating on their own. It is a big thing. So that's why when I went to the fish market today, it was bombed because nobody's going to eat meat pretty much the rest of the week. The majority of the people, they're still in Lent, which is a time of reflection up until Easter, where it's like, "Ooh, he's risen," and everybody celebrate. So all that comes from Spain, that Catholic tradition and faith and all that. All right, talk about the climate. We are about the same, rainy season, dry season, but, well, not but, we also have microclimates, which means we have multiple climates depending on where you are in the country. So Panama City is like almost like in the basin, so it's kind of warm. The beach areas are warm, and then they have sand flies. Oh, those things will eat my legs up. I'm like, no bueno, not for me. But once you elevate, I think it's Jackie who says for so many 1,000 feet elevation, the temperature drops so many degrees. I don't have that number. Just know that if you go, the higher you go, the cooler it is in Panama. So that's why, thank you. That's why when people come and say, "Oh my God, the heat, the heat, the heat," well, you have options. Now you can go to Chiriquí where Boquete is, which is about 7-hour drive or 8-hour drive from here, or a 1-hour flight to David, and then 45 minutes to Boquete. You're going to be in cool climate. You may not have to use AC, but it tends to rain a lot during the rainy season. And that's why they grow a lot of coffee and a lot of our food there, because the soil is very moist and fertile. Mexico also has different climates. Of course, Adelia told you that Mexico City is elevated so many 1,000 feet and it's surrounded by mountains. So I was talking to her, it was 87 here, it was 63 over there. That's about a 30-degree difference. So if you like cool weather, you're going to like Mexico City. But they have other parts that are warm, like Merida, right? So you have choices, which is the good thing with the two countries. You have options based on what you like. But a lot of it has to do with your budget too, right? Yes. I love watching the ships come in while I was there last year. I hope to visit Panama again. Yeah, Panama is, I don't know. You heard my story, how I was taking a tour. I was sitting in that boat and I was watching the monkeys in the trees, and something came over me and I was like, I really like this place. And I still like this place. I was walking somewhere this morning and the urine smell was strong because of where I am. A lot of there's some homeless people. So where are they gonna go? Where are they gonna go? So this is what when you move abroad, depending on where you go, there are certain things that you just adjust to. And before you think, oh my God. Well, we have some cities in the US that are just as bad, if not worse. All right? So keep that in mind and keep it zipped up. You don't need to come to a country and start bad mouthing it. It did not ask you to come. You're a guest. Therefore, you ought to be respectful, right? I mean, I know what it is. I chose to walk that area. I didn't have to. I could be in my Uber in the AC if I wanted to. That's it. You love it. What do you love? You mean in Mexico? When it's hot, it's hot. Oh, yeah. I don't know that I would want to be in Merida where it's hot all the time. Panama in the evening, there's a breeze that comes from the ocean and it's very, very, very nice. And I personally like a place that has a closeness to the ocean. That's just me. That's why I looked at Ghana because Ghana is also on the is it Atlantic or Pacific? You know, the ocean. I like that. And when I was in Rwanda, Rwanda is landlocked. There is no way to escape. If you go to the north, you're in the what is it? The Congo, and then over here and over here. I like to have the ocean somewhere close to me. It's just me. Oh, I've seen some of the oceans, Greta. Mexico is a stunning country. And some of these little towns, the architecture, the cobblestone streets, and oh my goodness, just so beautiful. I haven't been to Mexico yet, believe it or not, but I will. I will. Thank you. All right. Well, they have the peso. Oh, don't have. Where's my phone? Oh, I don't know how. Greta, how many pesos to a dollar? It will leave you breathless. Ah. How many pesos to a dollar? Greta, $1 to peso. Oh, what I'm checking too then. But of course, those kind of things change on a daily basis. 18.12 pesos per $1. So you have to do the math. But in Panama, we don't have that. We use the dollar. So I like that about Panama, and a lot of people like that about Panama. So Adelia said that she had found an apartment in the past for $600. So that would be like 13,000 something pesos. Yeah, 2 pesos, 10,873. So I think the exchange rate changes. It's cheaper than the US. Well, yeah. If you could find an apartment in the city for $600, definitely cheaper. Even though some people here say that you can find an apartment for that price. We just know it's probably not going to be in a high rise with 24-hour security and other things because they do have some pockets of single houses around the city, not in the city proper, but around the city. It depends on what you want. Um, Certain communities in Mexico are expat heavy, like Ahiki or Ahiki, San Miguel de Allende. Those are like old stronghold of expats. Lots of uh, gringos, Caucasian people from Canada and other places in Europe. have retired there. They have younger people like in Playa del Carmen, like around the beach areas, and there's so many different areas. I know when I was looking to retire, I looked at bunches of videos about people who've retired into different communities in Mexico. And some people live in areas that are like expat heavy, and some areas are not expat heavy. I know I've heard of Guanajuato and some others. I think I could live in, in any of those. And of course, your rent will be comparable if you live in those, you know, smaller communities. Yeah, Merida sounds hot. I don't want to go because of that. I don't want to be that hot all the time. But it's perfect for our friend Greta. All right, what else? Job situation. Well, let's continue with the rent. So I'm assuming, like in Mexico City, like Adelia says, it will be depending on the location. Location, location, location. That still is true even here in Panama. So in Panama, I am on Balboa. Balboa is like mid-range, and then you have high range like in Costa del Este, Santa Maria. Mid-range also would be Punta Pacifica, Paitilla, downtown. There are some areas where you can find homes, like in Clayton, Ancon, San Francisco. You may find some homes, but they're like older. Whereas in Costa del Este, they're more modern because they're like newer planned communities that cater to people who may be non-Panamanian in the way the architecture and the home designs are. In the older homes, like if you go to Boquete, Alto Boquete, and you want to rent a house, it most likely will be smaller with lots of walls separating the different rooms and not the open concept that you're used to. But if you're paying $650 a month, can you live with the walls? I would. The one thing, not the only thing, that would keep me away are the iguanas, the snakes, the scorpions. I don't do critters. That's why I'm in a high rise. When I saw that little gecko who got lost in my room, I got rid of it quick. And yesterday, my sister called. I mean, she was hyperventilating. She's like, "There's a lizard in the house. Oh my God, I don't know what I'm gonna do." She was freaking out. I'm from Florida. When I came from New York, I was like that too. When I saw a lizard in my tub one day, I thought I would break my legs. I ran out so fast. And after a couple of years, I'm like, shoot, shoot, shoot. You get used to it. Yeah. But iguanas, I know they're a little bit scary. They may be harmless, but I just don't want to see them too close. There was, I said, David, there was like, you remember in South Florida, they were like falling from trees. Wasn't that bad, but they were like all over the place. I'm like, not for me. No. I love Merida because nobody coming in this year. You are right, Greta. It's too hot to do anything crazy. Oh my gosh, she's so funny. So you can have it all to yourself, Greta. Oh, the iguanas, mini alligators. I don't know. They're just not pretty at all and scary. I don't like lizards, but that size lizard, it's a bit much. So, and I'm assuming if you go in some little town in Mexico, it'll be the same thing. That's why I told my sister, I said, you are in a tropical country. You're building a house in their habitat. You're going to have, that's when you go to Arizona. They have scorpions too in Arizona. And you're going to have snakes because you just raised the desert where they live and you build your homes. Yes, you've seen those things in the news. But they find a snake in the radiator and all that, no bueno. Mm-mm. All right, Greta. Good for you. But anyway, so I guess you would have a variety of costs in terms of how much you pay for something and the amenities, location. I think what we call it amenities. If you want central heat and air, but not maybe not air because they don't have a need for AC. But in 60-degree weather, come on, you got to wear a jacket. I said, I'm not talking to you. That's just not fair. Because 63 sounds pretty good. I love cool weather, like a little sweater and some boots. Ooh, sexy. That's why I like. I like Peru. Peru, the llama, alpaca. They take the fur and they make nice sweaters and jackets. Oh, I love all that. Yes, I could see myself doing that. Boquete is about 7 or 8 hour drive from Panama City, way out there in the western part of the country, going toward Costa Rica. So it's not close. When you move to Boquete, you move to like a different country. You got to find your stuff in that general area. And if you want to come to the city, you fly in or you take a long range bus, and it's a long ride. You live in Arizona and the critters are here. I know, I don't like them, but they were here first. Yes, yes, they were. I mean, and they have the rattlesnake there too. Mm-mm, mm-mm. Now, see, I'm from Florida. We have critters, alligators, snakes, mountain lion. We have jaguars here in the interior. And we are seeing a lot more crocodiles in the waters here in Panama. They say they don't understand how they're just having babies. They're seeing a lot more of them. And parents are worried because, people here live like they're like fish because we have so much water. But if they have like an area, they're seeing alligators. They show them in Clayton. They show them across the street from where I am. They're finding them. No bueno. Now, it'll be a trek for the alligator to go up 38 floors to get to me. No. Sometimes I'm sitting here, I'm the 38th floor, and I see those big black birds flying, like vultures or hawks or whatever. And I'm like, sometimes if the weather is nice, I like to open my big windows. And I'm like, what if one of them gets lost one time, disoriented, and decide to pay me a visit? That's a no bueno for me. But that hasn't happened. I have had small birds with a broken wing end up on the patio. But I'm not touching them. And then sometime after a day or two, I'm like, I'm going to try to feed you. I'm not touching you. I'm doing anything. And then they fly away on their own. Let's see what else we talked about. We talked about the weather. We talked about the money. We talked about choices, pockets, different places you could go inside the countries. We talked about microclimates, multiple different climates. Now, I asked Adelia about the demographics of who do you think. Of course, I'm interested in foreigners going to these countries. Now, you have to understand that globalism, the fact that we people are more mobile, people kind of move around, whether they want to out of curiosity or whether they feel pressured to expatriate, right? Like a lot of us are here. I tell people, I never thought years ago that I would want to retire somewhere else. No, because it was like I work, when I quit working, then I stay. But things change and I changed. So my perception of what retirement was going to look like changed the closer I got to that age, right? I do not be curious. I ain't looking for trouble. It's bad enough I got to talk to myself while looking at the sidewalk. There is no ADA here, no ma'am. Oh, I forgot to mention that. In the city here, no. Every man for himself. You better watch where you're going. If you get into a ditch, they will call 911 for you. But yes, yeah, it is learning the environment. So, in terms of demographics, right? Panama, we talked about that yesterday at my party. I did like a little trivia test about Panama, and it was very interactive, and they liked that to know about Panama. So I did not do that about Mexico. I don't live in Mexico, but if you're interested in Mexico, you better learn, not better, it's a good idea to do that, to learn about the history, how Mexico became what it is today, and it's got a female president. Hello, props. That's what I'm gonna say. Panama had a woman president. Yes. Did you know that? We had a woman president, and the U.S. is still not willing to consider a woman. Yep. Yep. That's all I'm gonna say. So in Panama, generally, first of all, Americans have been around Panama for a long time. Canal, 1904 up to 1914, I think the canal was finished. Some Americans stayed. So the locals here are used to seeing Americans, Chinese, Indian. So Panama is a very multicultural and sensitized to seeing people who don't look like them. And I think that's one of the reasons that when you come to Panama, you don't feel like a fish out of water. You don't feel like you're being stared at, looked at. They're just like, oh, who is she? Where she come from? They might look at you and the next thing they turn around. Okay? Nobody's bothering you either, Greta, over here. All right? So, because they are used to foreigners, Panama is also a financial hub. When you come and you see all the high rises in the city, some people say they were shocked. Some people say it gives them Miami Beach or Miami vibes. And definitely the traffic supports that because it can get pretty crazy in the city. But a lot of companies, international companies, have businesses here. So they park their monies here. So a lot of revenues for the country comes from international companies having people here. Another thing that you find here are people working for those companies, for a block of time. Let's say they say, well, you're working for this company out of South Africa. We have business in Panama. We're going to have you there for 3 years. So there's a lot of movement of international people coming in and out of Panama. So that's another reason that they are used to foreigners, right? Americans, they're used to Americans. After the canal was done, was finished, once they give the canal back to Panama, we're not going to get into that either. Some stayed. Like that happens everywhere, right? Some people left, some people stayed and, with their families and they grew. So they are very familiar with having Americans around. But those people, some people, when they left, they went to the US, they raised their families, and now a lot of them are coming back to retire, coming back home. Okay? But typically, the people who besides the financial people, coming here for a few years and going back home, people wanted to come to Panama to retire. International Living Magazine. In fact, I think last weekend they had some kind of seminar here. They're always looking to see which countries are attractive to retirees and why. And I've met several people when I said, "Tell me your Panama story." They said, "Oh, I don't know. I was talking to so and so. They said they're from Panama." Then I started researching and I found this International Living Magazine. In a lot of years, they have showcased Panama as being an ideal retirement hub because the US dollar, the pensioner visa, how easy it is to get, lower cost of living, well, that's changing a bit. Very nice people who are open to having foreigners in their country because you bring money and you bring jobs to the lower wage worker, right? So initially that was Panama. 20, 30 years ago, retirees. There's a woman here called Jackie Lang, and she was instrumental in bringing a bunch of Americans to the Boquete area. Now you have multiple people doing relocation tours. I'm not one of them. I don't do relocation tours. People have asked me, and I'm like, oh no. Mm-mm. First of all, I can't work, and then I don't ever want to do anything anymore where I have to hire people. Having employees is a death sentence. I don't want that. Been there, done that. No mas. Mm-mm. Whatever I'm doing, I will do, or it's going to be something digital. That's all I want to do in this stage. I can hire a virtual assistant, someone from the Philippines or somewhere else who help with some back office. Yeah, I don't mind doing that. But like I had 55 employees one time, 55 headaches, okay? No bueno, no mas, no, no, no. But over the years, that is changing to now you have other kinds of people coming to Panama. Yes, Greta, you will curse constantly. Oh, it was stressful. It was stressful. Whether I was in the office or at the restaurant. OMG. No. But so now you have other people coming into Panama. Like I have a sister here. She's one of my students, Spanish students, but she's coming to Panama, but on the Friendly Nations visa, right? So it's not just retirees. And what Panama considers retirees are people with a steady income going forward. You don't need to be 65 to qualify for the pensioner visa. If let's say you are disabled, or you're getting social security benefits, or you're getting some kind of federal whatever disability, right? As long as you can show that you have a minimum of $1,000 a month in steady, I don't want to say reasonable, an income that you can count on coming. So that's why they want to see proof of where that money is coming from. They trust the government to say Social Security will pay it to you. Well, we don't know what might happen, but as of right now, that's the way it works. The $1,000 is not what you need to live on. The $1,000 a month is not what you need to live on. But this is the basic minimum requirement to get the pensioner visa. Jackie did a video, I want to say a week or two ago, about how to get the Friendly Nations visa. This is the visa that allows you to work, whereas the pensioner visa said you cannot work, all right, unless you're doing something remote. But there are different requirements. I thought somebody told me it was 300,000. She said, no, this is a different kind of visa. You need to show at least 200,000 that you're going to invest, put in a CD or buy property. Talk to your attorney. But I'm seeing more people coming in either with the pensioner visa. We have a lot of veterans coming right? Somebody who with a disability who says I'm getting a pension or whatever and show their letter, they can get the pension or the visa. And right now, when I go around, I see people of all ages here who are foreigners. And of course, I'm looking at Americans because I'm not Canadian, but lots of Canadians here, lots of people from South Africa here, Germany, anywhere. And Panama does not discriminate. Come on in. That's your visa. So the attorneys are busy. So now Mexico, I don't want to speak for Mexico because I am not clear on the visa requirement. This young sister, she had applied, she used a facilitator, and she used an attorney. I believe she got the 1-year visa, and then she recently went and got her permanent. All right? So you can do it. It is different from Panama. Panama, you come in where everything is done with your attorney, you go in, you get a temporary card. Within 6 months, you come back, they take the temporary and they give you a permanent. And that permanent card never expires. Some places it lasts for 7 years, some places it lasts for 10 years, you gotta renew. None of that here. And again, like I said, I'm not an expert on Mexico. I had asked Cordelia, if you recall, so you don't have a retirement visa. She said, well, technically you don't, but then they look at your income. And this is the thing. Mexico appears to have increased their requirement for income. And I think it's a way for them to manage the crowd coming in because they ask you for over 4,000 in regular income coming in. And they consider everything, she said, to bring you to that 4,000, right? Social Security, annuities, rental income, dividends from your investment. So they count all that. But they want to see proof of that for 12 months that you're not just saying, oh, I get all that money. And then you qualify for the visa. All right? So they may not call it retirement. Maybe they should call it, I don't know, financial visa. But you know, in many countries, you can buy yourself a residency, right? If you have the right amount of cash. Yep. Lynette says, I don't feel like I need a relocation tour for my first trip when I have my sweet sister Maggie. You're so funny. God willing, I will be making a consultation soon. Aren't I talking to you on Monday? No, that's Christine. I'm talking to Christine on Monday. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, they ask for over $4,000 a month. And this is what Adelia was saying. Adelia says they ask for 4,000, but you don't need that much to live on. So that's why I said I think they're weeding out the people who don't have a lot of money, cannot even apply, because if you don't meet that financial requirement. But you know, some people do the 36 months and then the border run and come back in another 6 months, but you can't do that forever, right? That's kind of gonna get old. I was in Boca del Toro one day and I met a couple. They said they're just here for a border run because their visa had expired in Costa Rica. So they made a border run to go back to Costa Rica. A border run is where you go when your visa expires so you can re-enter. So you usually go somewhere close, right? All right, let's see what else did we talk about. Oh, healthcare. Oh boy. Whew. Healthcare in Panama is convoluted. Yes, the care is excellent. The providers are excellent. But I've always said if you're less than 65, it's a lot easier for you to get insurance. But the young lady who was here who's Panamanian American, said she had insurance, but she still ended up to paying out of pocket when she had a baby, for like your copays and then your deductible. So she said she felt like she didn't have insurance because she ended up paying thousands of dollars anyway. So take it with a grain of salt. All right. A lot of preventative care is paid out of pocket here in Panama, and I'm sure in Mexico también. Now, Mexico, I said, how easy is it to find, to go see a doctor? She said, oh, easy. All the pharmacies have like a consultation with the physician right next to it. So you can go see the physician for your sniffles, your headache, or whatever, and then you just walk over to the pharmacy and fill your prescriptions. In Panama, I don't know about Mexico, you can go to any pharmacy if you have your old bottles of medication for high blood pressure, high cholesterol, diabetes. They will refill your medication without a slip from a doctor, like you need in the state. The doctor has to call the pharmacy, call in a prescription, or give you a script. You don't need that for regular medication. Only for antibiotics or control substances like pain medication, anti-anxiety, those kind of medications, right? But you can also pay out of pocket to get your hair check, your hearing check, your mammogram, your pap smear, your well yearly exam, your lab work. I walk into a lab and I look and I said, I want this panel. And then they took my money, took my blood, and within 2 hours, they sent me my result in an email. And someone asked me, what about HIPAA? It's not a thing here. You will get your result in an email. Now, I don't know if you go to a hospital and anybody can go into the hospital and ask about you. I'm not saying that. I don't know that. But you can get your medication. You have to go to a portal and log on and all that. And then you just forward it to your doctor. And if the doctor ordered it, you too will get a copy. But you want to have a primary care doctor. I don't yet have one. I don't get sick. And people are like, oh my God, you need a doctor. Why? If I go in the hospital, yes, I need somebody to look out for me. But it's not something, I won't tell anybody not to have a doctor. Remember that. I'm a nurse practitioner. Remember that. I can pretty much kind of see. And if I need to go see a doctor, and I need to because I'm trying to get this insurance plan, and I have to get a doctor to sign some document. Oh my God, this lady probably is beside herself. I refer so many people to her, and I still haven't done my paperwork. She quoted me in international plan for like between $300 and $400 a month. For my age, that's pretty good. The way it works here, Panama has some local insurance companies that will insure younger people, families, for something really affordable, $150, $200 a month, right? But you do have co-pays and deductible. But once you hit 65, it's like, you're old now. You have pre-existing conditions. Therefore, either we're not going to cover you at all, like if you've had cancer in the past, but if you have like high blood pressure, diabetes, they want to know, is it controlled? If it's not, that's why you get lab work. They want to do a chest x-ray. They want to do a mammogram. They want to do an EKG. They want to know that you are not coming in with some stuff that they're going to be responsible for. So based on the results of those tests, they will say, yes, we're going to cover you, but we won't cover anything related to these pre-existing conditions for maybe 12 months or 24 months. That means if you have a stroke in that time, they say they're not going to cover it because it's related to your hypertension and your diabetes. That's the reality. So if anything like that happens to you while you waiting out those 12 months, 24 months, you got to pay. Options are Hospital Santa Fe says this is a hospital discount plan that is managed by that hospital, a private hospital. You have to use their doctors. It's like a PPO. And if anything happens to you, they need to bring you to that hospital. And my question was that if I'm laid out in the street, I have an emergency and I'm out, how do they know where to send me? They said if they call 911 for you here, the public ambulance will come take you to a public hospital. If you or your family member say, oh, this is my card, I need to go to that hospital, then they'll arrange for transport to take you back to Hospital Santa Fe. Another hospital with the same type of program is Hospital San Fernando. They're in the city. They have a clinic in the Coronado area, I think another area too. Somewhere in the middle of the state, of the country. Again, those are not major medical plans, they are discount plans. So if you go in and they say, okay, this is going to cost you $4,000, we're going to give you a 30% discount, and then you pay the rest. Okay? So you really have to know what you're walking into, and your monthly premium is is based on the results of your exam. They decide how healthy you are and what is their risk when taking you on. And they say, well, for somebody in their 50s, it may cost them $150, but for you, OHAG, it's going to cost you $275. But that's still cheaper than what you would get over there. It's not the same. I'm sorry to tell you that. But what I tell people, I think the best thing for anyone, regardless of your age, wanting to come to Panama, I implore you, have a conversation with an insurance broker and be candid. Don't hide the fact that you've had, surgeries in the past for this and that. Because if you lie at the beginning and later on they find you had that, they're not going to cover that. And you can get caught in that. So don't do that. Be upfront. The public versus private system here. Public is for the general population. It is super affordable, very low prices for anything. But because it is for the populace, for the people, the locals, there's a lot of waiting. Sometimes hospitals run out of things, supplies. Many times in the news, they would say, oh, this dialysis center, there's no water, there's no this, there's no that. So if you live in those areas, that's why I tell people, look at your situation and decide, is the mountains of Boquete worth it for you to move there when you have a medical condition that is there is a hospital in David that will accommodate you, but somebody has to take you from Boquete and drive you there. I don't believe there is any ambulance services. Don't quote me on that. But here, you have multiple hospitals in the city, so you have to know that. So wherever you're moving to, how close is the hospital? Where are the doctors? Can I walk there, or is it a short Uber ride? Because in the traffic here in Panama, in the city, during rush hour, you probably have a better chance of just taking an Uber and go to the hospital where you need to go. Because the Uber drivers may know some back roads, And if you call 911, they're going to take you to a public hospital, not a private hospital. Private hospital want to be paid. There is no, we have to take care of you law here in Panama. If you can't pay, call a family member, call a friend. We'll wait until you give us that card or the cash. You're not used to that. You're like, oh, they got to take care of me. Now here they don't. Nobody has to do anything for you if you can afford it. So the joke is la tarjeta, the card. And I tell older sisters, make sure you have 1 or 2 credit cards that are clean and open. Because if you go to a hospital and they say, oh, and you got to prepay, they want to deposit before they start treating you. If they say, oh, she's having a stroke, well, we think it's going to cost about maybe 10,000. We want an advance of 5,000 before we treat you. So you got to whip up that card. They're going to charge 5,000, then take you in and start treating you. If you can't afford that, they're going to put you in an ambulance and take you to the public hospital. Time, remember, 90 minutes. They could have given you the medication to bust that clot up here or in your heart. So when you come to a place like Panama, you have to get your mind straight that based on logistics and stuff, you may not get the care you need in time. One other option, international plan, you can buy a plan from Cigna, Aetna, I think Blue Cross Blue Shield, or I think some people have, is it Kaiser? I don't know if Kaiser is international, but I know it's out of California. A lot of the hospitals, the private hospitals, are familiar with the American system. And they're also familiar with the bureaucracy and the games that our insurance companies play with us in paying the claims. You know the game they play. Oh, we need this more additional piece of paper. Oh, you didn't get authorization for this, blah, blah, blah. And the hospitals, they are saying, we're not playing those games. We want our money. We provide the care. We want to get paid. Not 6 months later, not a year later. Because they're familiar with Aetna, Cigna, they can get authorization and get you treated. But you're still paying with that card, so to advance. And at the end, when you get discharged, if they need to give you a credit, they'll put it back on the card. If your insurance company pays, they'll put it back on the card. But they're not going to be in the hole for you. There is no, oh, can I have an IOU? No. Can I get a payment plan? No. Listen, I'm telling you, make sure you know what you're walking into, okay? Because don't say Maggie didn't tell me. I've been telling this story forever. Jackie has been telling that story forever. 2 other options for people our age. I'm 67. I have Medicare, of course. I had Medicare, straight Medicare for maybe a couple of years. So last year, I was like, I need to make a decision because as of today, as far as I know, if you have a Medicare Advantage plan, not straight Medicare, if you sign on with them, like during enrollment period from October 15, I think, to like November, you can enroll in a Medicare Advantage plan. Those are insurance companies with a contract with the US government to manage Medicare patients. And they base their management on a HMO PPO model, which means you need to stay in network. All right, that's how they control the cost. If you are living outside the US and you have an emergency, any conditions that would require you to go in urgent care or hospital is an emergency. Technically, they're supposed to cover that. But then you get into that game of when do we pay you? Do we pay you? So if you register with a private hospital here, you say, "Oh, I have United Healthcare Medicare," and you register, put your information, your insurance card, you scan it in. Great, welcome. Then you get admitted in an emergency. You were in a car accident, God forbid. And they say, "Oh, I see you are in our system. We're going to have to call your insurance and get authorization. In the meantime, if you're having a heart attack, well, we want to treat you. You want to be treated, right? Tarjeta, where's the card?" So they swap your card and they charge $3,000. Oh, they give you the medication. You're being treated while they're calling your company, your insurance company, to get authorization. They got authorization. Yay, great. This is what we think is going to happen. This is what we think is going to cost. The insurance company say, "Oh, sure." You get treated, you get discharged. But at discharge, the hospital is not yet, they have not yet gotten their money. Of course not. You know, the game starts with, well, we want to see, do we get everything on that claim? Did you use the right code? Delay, delay, delay. The hospital looks at everything and said, okay, it's going to be $10,000. Swipe. So now you're on the hook for $10,000 on your credit card. So now they say, we're going to help you. Yes, we're going to help you, give you the claim, and let you submit it to your insurance company. I think last year, Jackie again had been trying to get a company to do the billing for us so we didn't have to pay up front. And they found this company out of Mexico, of all places, Lakeside. And they said, oh, we're going to be handling all the billing. You no longer have to give your card first. We'll bill. Well, this major private hospital here said, okay, oh, we're going to be billing Medicare, no problem. Advantage, Medicare Advantage, not regular Medicare. I think it was maybe a few months into it, they sent a note saying, oh, we're halting all this because your insurance over there are playing games with us and not paying us in time. So we're scratching that. We're back to you paying for it and then submitting your claim. That's where we are today. Now, there are two other hospitals who had also come on saying they're going to build a Medicare Advantage plan, the Panama Clinic and Hospital, MiniMed Hospital. Okay, MiniMed is another, this is another story. It's a company here that's got multiple clinics everywhere. They are on board saying they are using Lakeside out of Mexico City to do the billing for Medicare Advantage. I have not heard that they have run into trouble and have halted billing. I have not heard that. In fact, one of our sisters was admitted, and last time I talked to her, I said, did you get a bill from them? She said, no. So I assume they paid. So that's Hospital MiniMed, okay? It's a small hospital in the heart of the city. I don't know how many beds they have, but apparently they have all the services, orthopedics, cardiology, I guess maternity and all that. But maternity we're not concerned with, right? We want to be sure that if we have a heart attack or a stroke or some kind of thing needing surgery, you can get it there. MiniMed also has a what they call expat. Expat is like a membership program where you pay $20 a month or $220 a year or something like that, and you have access to their providers. So that if you have the sniffle, you have a cold, or whatever the issue is, you can go. They give you an enrollment card, and you are a member, and they will treat you. And you can get some lab work. It's like a discount program. But they also will bill your Medicare Advantage plan. All right? MiniMed was, they They went on a super aggressive marketing plan. And Jackie herself pushed that program a lot. So a lot of people are using MiniMed. I also understand from a sister that they do have ambulance services. This is something else that's different here. I already told you, if you call 911, you're going straight to a public hospital where there's a wait. I'm not saying there is anything wrong with the care, because in Panama, the doctors who work in the private hospitals are required to also rotate to the public hospital. So the care is pretty comparable. It's the logistics that differ. Because of the number of people, you may have to wait to get care. But if you have an emergency, I'm pretty sure they have some kind of triage that you can get care. But people, I've heard both sides of the coin about people's experiences in the private hospital. One thing I know, you have to bring your sheets, your pillow covers, and all that. Your toiletries. Don't expect that little pack with the basin and all that. Mm-mm. And the units are like wards where you have multiple beds. And if you want like a semi-private or private, I don't even know if they have those. I'm saying you probably would pay for it. But the care is super, super affordable. I've heard people, somebody had a knee replacement at one of those hospitals, somebody had a gallbladder, and their experiences were not bad. And some others said, well, you go there to die. I don't know. I have not been in any one of them, thank you, Lord. So it's like, but the private hospitals get rave reviews. Tarjeta, remember that. You pay. Jackie herself said she had COVID, ended up admitted, and I think she had like a $17,000 bill, and then she had to fight with her insurance company to get paid. And then she said 9 months it took her to get her money back. Mhm. So I think this is it with our healthcare, that you pay for all your preventative, and then depending where you at, if you sign on with a discount hospital plan or an international plan, you will be covered. You do have a deductible and copays. And of course, all plans are not created equal. So you got to read your plan. So, like I said, I highly, highly recommend that you talk to an insurance broker here. And I do have someone that I refer people to. She's the one working with me, and I still haven't done mine. But she's very eloquent and will tell you based on your age, your medical condition. Of course, she's got nothing to do with the decision to cover you or not, or the premium. That's not what she does. But she will point you to what your choices might be. So don't come here trying to figure it out on your own. I couldn't figure it out on my own. All right? So be smart about that. But know that the medications may be different. They may be called something different. You may not get the brightest, the latest stuff here. Some people fly to, I don't know why I'm ending up talking about healthcare, because it's such a topic. Some people fly to Colombia to get medications. Some people go to Colombia to get some stuff done. Like if you want like a hip or a knee or something like that, people go over there. Or you could go to India if you like. I think Colombia is the closest. And they have been doing medical tourism a lot longer than Panama. So, and they speak English, and here that is a challenge. Doctor may speak English, but the staff at the hospital, they don't. So unless you're in a frame of mind where you can speak to your Google Translate or scan it and show it and all that, you might be in trouble. If you're in pain and you're unconscious, yes. So make sure you have an advocate, someone who can, talk for you. Is that enough? I think I've spoken a lot about healthcare. I listened to one video and it was saying you have to have close to 5,000 for their temporary visas. You must be talking about Mexico. For permanent, it's more than that, but you have to wait, I think, 5 years. Whew. Hi, for someone who had a busy night, you look fresh and pretty and full of energy, Maggie. Thank you, darling. Listen, I was tired this morning. I told you I still got up at 6:30 and went and met that sister, and I taught 2 Spanish classes. I'm good. Thank you so much. I learned my lesson from relocating with my children, across the state where we didn't know a soul. We survived. Of course you can survive. And that's why I do SWA and I do Fridays at Maggie's. I want people to be connected. When I see them talking to each other, I'm like, yes. Because you want somebody in your corner if you have something that, okay, let's exchange numbers. Can I call you and spend time? Let's have coffee. So you build your network that way, right? Very important. Your 2-hour visit was $46. There you go. Wow. Do you know anyone with lupus there? I'm sure there are some people. Lupus is not uncommon, and a lot of our sisters have that. And they do have a lot of specialists here. So that wouldn't be, I don't personally know, but I don't ask people, what's your diagnosis? You know what I mean? I don't know. I'm sure somebody, people have it, but I don't know. I don't ask people personal information. That's the HIPAA for me. I don't get into people's business like that. All right, guys, any questions? This is your time. Let's see, what else do we want to know about Mexico? You need to have a lot of money. You know what she said, Adelia said in the city? She said you get your energy bill like every 2 months, and it's usually $10 to $12. That alone would make me move. She also talked about how difficult it is to find an apartment in Mexico City, that they don't have MLS per se, and they don't have like real estate agents. So if you wanted somebody to help you, I'm sure you could get a referral. Kathy Muska, another friend. Aw, hola. I'm sure they have those facilitators that Natasha talked about who would help you or know someone who would help you. You know how they do here? Somebody meets an Uber driver that drove them from the airport and then became their driver. It's like one person knows somebody else. That's the way it works here. So they would allow me to qualify for the visa. Your medical condition, I don't believe, comes into play for the pensionado visa, because they know if you get sick, you're going to have the tarjeta, remember? You're not signing up for any government insurance program. You're not a risk for them. You're a risk for yourself. So you come here, you find a doctor, to watch over you. If you get admitted, you fall into some of the scenarios I talked about, and have your credit card. Your visa has nothing to do with your medical condition. I think they do a medical check when you get here, but it's just general. They don't go too deep to say, oh, you have this and disqualify. I haven't heard that. But make sure you ask your attorney, that's for sure. In Mexico, you don't need a lot of money. It's your mindset and how you spend. But you got to qualify for the visa first. And that's what Adelia said. Adelia said they ask for a lot, but you need a lot less. So once you pay for your rent, electric is not a problem. You got mass transportation. I would think you could live really well on $1,500 a month, better than in Panama City. In Panama, in the interior, you can, but access to medical could be a problem. Keep that in mind. HBS, you're a veteran. There's a very large veteran groups here, and that swanky private hospital caters to veteran. So you're gonna find your doctor there, and there's a guy called Mike Kelly, and he helps the veterans a lot. They have a presentation every so often for the veterans. Yes, they cater to veterans a lot here. Yeah, I believe in Mexico. I believe I could live a lot, with like 1,500, which is like $1,000 less than what I need here. But I like Panama though. So, but Mexico could be a plan B. A woman president, a huge country, fresh food, Greta. Greta sent some pictures of a market. I'm a more of a, I like the outdoor market, farmers market. I like that better. But I know the food is amazing over there. I don't care for tacos that much, but I'm sure I could cook my fish and my veggies. I'm good. A lot of veterans in Merida. Okay. But I said the demographics here in Panama is changing. I see a lot more people with younger kids. Some people homeschool their kids, and we have a lot of international schools here. Now, remember, my audience is older single women, so I don't socialize a lot with people with children, but they are here as well. Fresco Market. Oh, you know what fresco mean, Greta? June. If you come in May, May is the month of La Etnia Negra. That means they celebrate Black ethnicity all month long in Panama. And there is something going on almost every day or every weekend for that month. And everybody's out there wearing all their beautiful, colorful garb with their headpiece. And even the little kids, oh, it's amazing. Of course, we have parades and fireworks. Yes, okay, this is Panama. I need to see both in case I can't take Panama heat. Oh boy. Panama, when it's warm, people stay indoors during the day. Then we emerge at night when the breeze. That's how we survive the heat. We're not out there passing out. It's not recommended. You adjust. Just like Greta does, right? In the morning, she's out, then she stays indoor, then she goes out, or you go to the mall and you spend time at the mall. Yep. The meat is fresh, very little processed food, something for everyone. Chicago popcorn. Oh, you got it there? Interesting. No, I would hurt myself at that place. I love fresh food. People go to the malls. I would take my laptop there and just don't go into your bank account on a public Wi-Fi. But yeah, but I don't want to sit. I'd be walking and doing. Yeah, you want to be home. People are at the pool also. I see them at the pool. But here in the middle of the day at the beach, that's way too hot. Not good for your skin. You got to keep that face without the line, and the sun will age you. Yes. Let's see what else we didn't talk about. Politics, you guys know what's happening. You have a woman president in Panama, in Mexico. I think they're mostly 5-year term for all the presidency here is 5 years. This is the second year of this president. He's got 3 more years to go. And they don't do two consecutive. They have to go, let someone else come in. They can always come back, like the president of the US did. Go to the beach before 12. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I want to go check it out. I want to go see how I feel in Mexico. But this friend of mine who just came from Mexico, she's like, I don't know. I think I feel better in Panama. I'm just saying, I didn't say it. Panama is special. I don't know what it is. And then I think I would like the food here better, but I'm not a taco person. The coffee, I'm pretty sure is good. The pastries would be cray cray. Ooh, whew, that is hard. Political stability, things are very stable here in Panama. There's no crime. I would not tell you we don't have crime in Panama. Lots of petty crime, and I just told you in the beginning of scamming that I'm seeing a lot more of. So you have to have your wits about you, right? Uh, and again, just like Adelia says, serious crimes involving expats, very rare. But in the Boquete area, they had, I think there was a home invasion the other day and an expat got killed. We do have crime, sporadic in Panama. For them to say, if you're walking around, somebody snatching your phone, that's not common. Like I hear it happening in Colombia or Mexico. No. But if you're not paying attention, like a certain person did, and was wearing a backpack in the back, wear your backpack in the front or wear your crossbody. Now, that's what I do. But after I got pickpocketed, everyone is getting their steps in the morning. The bakery will expand your hips. Oh my God. Yes, those bakeries. You walk around Panama City, in those streets, you see somebody with a cup and a little brown bag with specks of grease on it. They're having an empanada or something fried, some kind of fried bread. God help us. Haldra or empanada. Oh my God. Now, when I traveled to Panama, I would go down that little street in, let's say, Chitre o Las Tablas. And then the whiff, it's almost like when I was in Paris. The whiff comes and I follow my nose and I get into this bakery and all this stuff. And I'm like, oh. And it's, I go to the store. I'm just passing by the bakery cases and I'm like, okay, Maggie, you can do this. Don't look, don't look. And here comes the guy from the bakery, from the kitchen, wherever he baked. And he said, Señora, yo tengo empanadas. Caliente. I'm like, why are you talking to me? I said, who are you? Why are you talking to me? And then I said, what kind? He said, tengo de queso, de carne, de pollo. And I'm like, oh my God. So I just need to avoid that area, period. And you go get coffee, the first thing they say, algo más? Do you want this? Do you want that? No. Oh, at 7 a.m. Like in Paris, people are coming home and they have their baguettes in their bags. Yes. But they don't get fat. Nope. They get some cheese. 5, the organic vitamin D is amazing. What is that? Is that a bread? Vitamin D in a bread? All right, ladies, anything else? Close to 2 hours we've been talking. I've been talking. It's 6 o'clock. All right, are we clear about Mexico and Panama? I do believe that Mexico could be a good plan B for someone. And when she talked about the Mexico, one thing that's different is that they do have a public health plan, that you can qualify for if you are a resident, if you have residency. I believe that's what Adelia said. And I heard the same thing about Colombia. Once you get residency, you can buy because Stephanie Perry, I think she turned 60, or was it 50? She was able to get a plan for the whole year for $1,800, which is about $200 a month. That's not bad. 50. Okay. I said that to someone and then she's like, "Oh, that's expensive." And I'm like, 200 a month is expensive? What were you paying over there, with your insurance and your co-pays and I just have to make sure I'm protected well. Yes. I do you the sun bothers my skin. Oh, well, we have a sister here who has alopecia and she gets up in the morning, she goes to walk, she walks, she said, before the sun comes up. So I understand. So again, you could do, "Hey, Patricia, I thought you were in Ghana, girl. Are you back?" Yeah, 200 a month. Yes. So you can protect yourself. So don't be chasing just the cool weather because of that. You can adjust, right? Even if I have to go out in the middle of the day, I usually will wear a hat and I use my umbrella, my paraguas, right? Because you want to cover, I wear my sunglasses for the cataracts and then I cover and then I wear sunscreen. So you do what you have to do, right? Because when you're older, there are different things that you need to worry about besides the heat, besides the temperature. Yep. I'd be in the house too, Greta. I don't like to being out there in the sun. It's not comfortable. And plus, the other day, this lady was passing out because heat stroke can kill you. Remember, as a seasoned sister, you're more fragile to extreme variations in temperature. If you start feeling weird, you need to go somewhere where it's, not so sunny. Get some water. Sometimes you have to pour some water on your head to cool your body down because your body temperature can shoot up really fast. And that's dangerous for old people. I know you don't think you're old, but your defenses are less and your body does not respond as quickly as it did when you were young. This is a reality. I'm a gerontologist. I study aging. And the people who are exercising for 6 hours a day and think that they're 30, you're not 30, sis. You may wish you were, but you're not. And if you do extreme diet, extreme exercises to get this shape, the inside, things are happening regardless of what you're doing. So be mindful and think about caring for yourself in this age. You're no longer 30. I'm sorry to tell you. Carry a flashlight in case there is a blackout. In Mexico, the lights went out the other day. I flicked on my flashlight like it was nothing. Well, yeah. When I went to South Africa, that's something the Peace Corps said. You had to have solar powered flashlight and stuff or chargers. And the sun was free and it was abundant. So you just put that outside and it charges and you're good. And we had scheduled blackout, load shedding for hours every day. Every day. So people, with their light, they're playing cards and they're sitting out there having fun. It's just life. You just adjust. Say it and so. No, Lacey, I'm sorry to tell you. You are no longer 30. I may not have, lines and stuff, but things are happening on the inside that I don't like. Your back, your knees, your hip, you feel it. So you adjust to it, but that is your reality, right? All right. Oh, somebody had a birthday. Happy birthday to you. Wonderful. Oh, she said she was 60. I didn't realize she said she was 60 today. Oh, just turned 60. Okay. Happy birthday. Birthdays are special as we get older. All right, guys. Any other questions? We talk politics, weather, money. Of course, you don't want to retire anywhere trying to find a job. You either create a business or you work online. Have multiple little side hustles to kind of complement and keep it moving, right? I don't use air conditioning, I use fans. I use fans here too. My bill is like $40. I use fans with ceiling fan and leave window open at night. Ah, okay. Hopefully, nothing crawls in, Greta. You good? Oh, okay. Thank you, guys. Thanks for tuning in. I hope I give you what I have. As I said, I am making a commitment not to stress over YouTube. YouTube is just something I do to connect with y'all. If there's a little change that come with it, I thank God. But I will not. I refuse to stress myself over it. And I'm not a perfect YouTuber or whatever. I don't know the bells and whistle. And I'm not really interested. I really am not. So we're good and keep life going and use it as a tool. That's all. Thank you to all my friends. Jazzy, sweetheart. I see your pictures. You're doing great. Dominique, it's good to see you, sis. Did you get your RN already? I know you got the LPN. Tell me you got your RN. I'm waiting. Sybil, thanks for coming on. Kathy, so good to see you, sis. How are your baby cats? I remember you love cats. Patricia, I saw you in Ghana. Are you back? That's great. Thank you, guys. Oh, Palm Sunday tomorrow. Oh, yes. All right. So tomorrow for the live, I am not going to a store. This morning I went with the sister and I just got my crossbody. I said I am not going to tempt her to spend any more money at these places. So it's a matter of looking at the fridge and see what I have. Because I'm going to be traveling on Thursday, I don't want to have perishable. So last week I made the fish soup. Of course, I ate all the fish. And then I had leftover okra. I put it in the soup and then I put them in containers. They're in the freezer. So that's good. I can eat that when I'm hungry. But tomorrow, because I have extra pasta salad from last night. I threw away, there was a little bit of potato salad. I'm like, don't eat that, Maggie. So I threw it away. I have a bunch of tomatoes. I need to figure out what to do with it. Sliced tomato that we had for the burgers. I do have some. It's not sweet potato, but oh my gosh, what is it? Oh, squash, calabaza squash. I have some squash. Um, Oh, I have an eggplant. Okay. So I need to make something, and I bought okra. So we're going to make something like a ratatouille with the okra tomorrow. And I have two small snappers. So we're going to cook those, chop the head off. Yeah. This is what you do. That's what I do. I look at what's in the fridge. I'm not going to the store buying anything that's going to go bad for the 5 days I'm going to be out. So that's what we're cooking tomorrow. And I leave next Thursday. I return the following Tuesday. So I'm not going to be here next Saturday on the live, nor on Sunday, unless I'm recording live from somewhere, because I'm going to experience Good Friday and Easter in Guatemala to see how it is, because I know it's going to be popping here in Panama City, and I love all that. I love all that. All right. Something with quinoa. I don't have any quinoa. I'm boycotting grains for a little while. So no quinoa. Spanish class, no. That's why we are going to try to make up this week coming or the following week when I return. Yes. And of course, no exercises on Friday and the following Monday. Yes. All right, guys. Thank you for being with me and for watching. I will see you guys. Have a great evening. So I'm just gonna chill for the rest of the day. I did go and clean up all these dishes, but the floors, I'm like, I'll do that tomorrow. It can wait. All right. Okay. Au revoir. Good night. Good evening. Bye bye. I had wine and sangria last night, so I'm gonna stick to my water and stuff. All right, guys. Bye bye.